I'm joined here once again for Primetime Local News with Tyler McMurtry with SGI. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here.
Now, the July traffic spotlight results are in now for drivers. What does SGI think about the results for this month?
Well, we saw a number of drivers speeding through construction zones, and we don't want to see that at all. We saw 68 drivers either speeding through construction zones or past highway crews or equipment with its lights flashing. And of course, as we've discussed before, those are the most expensive type of speeding tickets. So it's something that drivers don't want to get. And it's also something that, more importantly, it presents a safety hazard for the folks who are working to fix our roadway infrastructure. We really want to keep those folks safe.
And could you list what kind of speeding tickets were issued in July?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was tickets for going through a occupied highway zone or a highway work zone, which with that has either workers or equipment with lights flashing. There's also a separate offense for, even if it's not a designated work zone, if you're going past a piece of equipment with the lights flashing. And that really goes for any type of roadside vehicle that you might see, whether it's a tow truck, a police vehicle, a fire truck, or an ambulance, or any construction equipment with its lights flashing. Whatever it is, if you see it flashing, you want to slow to 60 on a highway just to prevent one of those very expensive speeding tickets.
And now, were there distracted or impaired driving offenses in July?
Absolutely, and we report on these every single month, of course, and we'd like to report zero, but that's never the case. For speeding offenses, we saw nearly 7,500 speeding offenses reported in Saskatchewan by police. We saw 819 distracted driving tickets, and that includes 691 cell phone use tickets. Saw 591 people for ticketed for not wearing a seatbelt or not having a child restrained properly, which, again, we've talked about this before, Shelby. That seems ridiculously high given the evidence of how seatbelts keep everyone safe on the road. And of course, we did see impaired driving offenses as well. 467 impaired driving offenses, and that included 340 criminal code charges.
And you were saying earlier about work zones. How were the offenses through construction in most areas, especially now in the summer?
Well, so what we saw was not a huge number of tickets written by police, and those are the numbers we report every month with the Traffic Safety Spotlight. It was 68 speeding tickets, as well as 3 tickets for not obeying the directions of a flag person, which is a $150 fine. But the important thing to remember is it's not just police out there on the roads that are enforcing construction speed zones. There's also photo speed enforcement that takes place in many highway work zones as well across Saskatchewan. And we actually see the vast majority of tickets written by them. Now, we don't have results for that yet, but we can expect there will be hundreds of drivers getting tickets in the mail in the coming weeks as a result of that photo speed enforcement. And what we want people to bear in mind, especially given the fact that construction season is not over, you're still going to encounter orange zones wherever you travel in the province of Saskatchewan and elsewhere in Western Canada, that it's really important to slow down. The penalties are more severe, but more importantly, the consequences are more severe when you are talking about a potential collision in a work zone. Those workers really have nothing to protect them other than paint and plastic. You know, those pylons, those don't do much to keep those workers safe. It's up to all of us as drivers to do what we can, slow down, obey the direction of signage and flag persons, and just get through that work zone safely, and everybody can get home at the end of the day.
And compared to last year, how would you say drivers did in July for this year? Were there more offenses or less?
Well, there were less tickets written by police, so that's a good sign. We hope that when the numbers come in for photo speed enforcement tickets, which we don't have, that we'll also see fewer offenses there. It's really important. We'd like to see zero examples of people speeding through work zones. Now, there was a very well viewed video of a very egregious example, and you can find it linked on in our news release, and you can find it on our Facebook page as well, of somebody speeding and weaving through a construction zone. It was captured on video by the folks working there. Very dangerous situation, and it actually ended up resulting in a collision involving a number of vehicles several kilometers down. But this was a driver who was speeding at a very high rate of speed, well in excess of even the regular speed limit, not to mention the 60 km/h orange zone limit, and coming within feet of hitting workers, weaving in and out of lanes, nearly hitting oncoming traffic. Really, that's an egregious example, but we know that there were hundreds others of people who probably sped through work zones when they didn't need to. All you have to do, slow down to that 60 km/h limit or whatever the signage tells you to slow down to, and you'll get through there a little slower than you normally would, but it's a few minutes extra that you can take to ensure that the folks who are working to keep our roadways in drivable condition, that they get home safe to their families at the end of the day.
And is there anything else you want to add for people to know about just considering the traffic spotlight?
I think we've covered it. This month, we are, of course, focusing on rural roads. So if your travels take you on any of those gravel roads, just watch out for farm equipment. It's harvest time, of course. Watch out for other vehicles, understanding that on gravel roads, which are a really important piece of the roadway infrastructure here in Saskatchewan and elsewhere in Western Canada, that they do present different driving challenges when it comes to traction, different kinds of terrain that you'll be dealing with, uncontrolled intersections, that sort of thing. So keep in mind as well, if you're heading off the highway onto those gravel roads, that you need to take care.
Perfect. Thanks again so much for joining us today, Tyler.
Thanks, Shelby.